You've met them. At work, they're the polished manager who remembers everyone's birthday, but never once asks how you're really doing. At family dinners, they help set the table, pour the wine, compliment your outfit, and yet something tightens in your chest when they speak. They're the ones who smile without warmth, who seem perfectly nice, but leave you feeling subtly erased. They say all the right things at exactly the right time. They never raise their voice, never break the rules, and yet something inside you recoils. Your body tenses, your breath shallows, your instincts whisper, "Get away." But your mind can't explain it, because they haven't done anything wrong. And that's what makes it so terrifying. Carl Jung warned us, what you do not make conscious will appear in your life as fate. But he also said something else, something far more chilling. The most dangerous person is the one who believes they are only good. Because when someone is disconnected from their own darkness, they don't see the damage they do. They smile as they destroy you. They call it love. And you'll question yourself before you ever question them. This isn't about overt cruelty. It's about something far more insidious. The person who has buried their shadow so deep, they no longer recognize it in themselves. But your nervous system picks up on what your mind can't name. You feel the energy shift, but you have no evidence, no words for it. You don't have a name for it. But Jung did. Projection. They see their darkness in you. He called it projection. When someone sees their own darkness in you and tries to erase it. And the more light you carry, the darker you'll appear to someone running from their own shadow. Imagine this. You're at a family gathering. Your cousin is charming, helpful, generous, but somehow, when you talk to them, you leave the conversation questioning your worth, and you don't know why. Now picture a different scene. Your older sibling tells your parents you're manipulative, right after guilt-tripping you into covering for their mistake. Or a coworker calls you arrogant after they've just undercut you in a meeting. They can't see their own behavior. They only see their reflection in others, and it terrifies them. So they try to destroy it. In their story, you're not a person, you're a threat, an echo of the very thing they've buried. And the harder you try to prove your innocence, the more guilty you'll seem, because you're not fighting them. You're fighting a ghost from their past. Until they recognize it, they'll keep mistaking your face for their own shadow. They'll accuse you of what they secretly fear in themselves. You'll be called manipulative when they're the ones pulling the strings. You'll be called selfish when they've never once asked what you truly need. They're not lying, they believe it. And that's what makes it so dangerous, because projection isn't deception. It's self-avoidance on autopilot. Jung said the shadow contains everything we cannot accept in ourselves. Our anger, our envy, our greed, our lust, our fear, our weakness, our rage, our hunger for control. What we refuse to own, we meet in others. So when someone cannot carry their own darkness, they throw it onto you. They turn you into the villain, a scapegoat, an intruder, a monster, anything but a mirror. Imagine a friend who constantly accuses others of being disloyal, but betrays confidences without a second thought. Or a partner who calls you controlling while silently punishing you with cold withdrawal. When you try to explain yourself, they won't hear you, because they're not talking to you. They're yelling at their own reflection. And you're just the screen. Worse still, if you care about them, you'll start to believe the story. You'll question your reality. You'll apologize for crimes you didn't commit. But this kind of projection is just the first disguise, because not every danger wears anger. Some wear charm. Some don't attack you at all. They perform for you, and you don't even realize you're being erased. The persona, the mask is perfect, and that's the problem. They say the right things. They never lose composure. They're admired, respected, even loved. But something about them feels off. It's like they're not fully there. Jung called it total identification with the persona, the social mask we all wear to survive. But when the mask becomes the person, the soul disappears. They no longer feel, they no longer connect. They perform, and people applaud. Because in this world, appearances are currency. The better your mask fits, the more rewards you get. But the cost is high, because behind the mask, there is no you. You walk away from conversations confused, not because they were cruel, but because they were empty. And that emptiness is dangerous because it seduces, it charms, and slowly it convinces you that you are the problem. Too emotional, too intense, too alive. It's like standing next to a mannequin that nods and smiles but never sees you. And over time, you begin to dim your light. You stop crying, stop laughing, stop feeling. This isn't connection, it's erosion. But sometimes the mask doesn't just erase the self. It replaces it with something bigger, something that looks like power, but rots from the inside. What fills that hollow space? Inflation. They don't think they're human anymore. You've heard them before. They don't talk, they proclaim. Their words feel heavy, final, absolute. They believe they know what's true, not just for them, but for you. And if you disagree, you're not just wrong, you're dangerous. This isn't confidence, it's ego inflation. Jung said that when someone fuses with an archetype, the savior, the martyr, the judge, the prophet, they lose the ability to reflect. They become a mouthpiece, a walking sermon, a machine for moral certainty. And because they believe they are pure, everything they do becomes justified. They control you for your own good. They shame you for your own healing. They punish you for your growth. And they sleep soundly because in their mind, they've done nothing wrong. Jung warned, inflation is always a compensation for emptiness. We see it in spiritual leaders who demand worship, in activists who dehumanize their opponents, in gurus who can't take criticism. When that inflated balloon bursts, it doesn't just collapse, it explodes, taking everyone nearby down with it until the person disappears inside it. They don't just believe the idea, they become it. And when that happens, you're no longer dealing with a person. Archetypal possession. You're not speaking to them anymore. Look into their eyes and you'll see it. They're gone. Still moving, still functioning, still talking. But the person inside? Absent. This is archetypal possession. And it happens more often than you think. Jung believed archetypes are primal energies, patterns in the collective unconscious. The mother, the warrior, the victim, the lover, the king, they live in all of us. They help us make sense of the world. They give form to our deepest roles. But when someone fuses entirely with one of them, it's no longer a role, it's an identity. They don't play the protector, they are the protector. They don't act as the martyr, they become the martyr. And once that happens, dialogue becomes monologue, complexity becomes dogma. Curiosity is replaced by certainty. You're not speaking to a person, you're speaking to an energy, a myth, a force without reflection. Think of Jim Jones or Anakin Skywalker, or the mother who smothers instead of nurtures. This possession can look like passion, like conviction, like purpose, but it's a possession nonetheless. And the longer someone lives in it, the harder it is for them to return to themselves, to remember they are not the role, to remember they are human. And if they don't, their story doesn't end. It loops again and again. But this time the ghost doesn't stay inside them. It drags you onto the stage. Repetition compulsion, the same wound in 1,000 disguises. They keep dating the same kind of person. keep ending up in the same conflict, keep reliving the same emotional story, just with different characters. It looks irrational, but it's not. It's a psychic loop. It's like watching someone trapped in a haunted theater, performing the same scene night after night, hoping the script will finally end differently. They change the costumes, they cast new actors, but the dialogue stays the same. They don't realize they're not the director, they're the ghost, replaying pain in hopes of redemption, but dragging you onto the stage with them. Jung called it the compulsion to repeat. When trauma goes unprocessed, the psyche tries to redo it, to fix it, to finally escape. But without awareness, it just reopens the wound over and over again. They're trying to turn pain into closure, but all they find is more pain. And here's the danger: they don't know they're doing it. They think you are the problem. They cast you in the same role they've cast every ex, every friend, every parent, the betrayer, the abandoner, the oppressor, even if you're nothing like the others. Even if you love them deeply, you'll still become the enemy in a story they haven't finished writing. You'll say, "I'm not them." They'll say, "Yes, you are. This is how it happens." Not with malice, but with unconsciousness. And so now you've seen it, the 5 signs Jung warned us about. But this isn't about spotting red flags in others. It's about recognizing the shadow within ourselves. Because here's the truth: you're not just surrounded by these people. You've been one. And in some ways, you still are. These aren't their traits, they're human traits. And every time you deny your own darkness, you move one step closer to becoming the most dangerous person of all. That's why Jung didn't teach us these patterns so we could become judges. He taught us something harder, something more honest. The mirror principle, not to diagnose others, but to reflect, to ask the only question that truly protects us. Where am I unconscious? Because the most dangerous person isn't the narcissist, or the manipulator, or the villain. It's the one who never stops to ask, what am I capable of? And the moment you stop asking that, you stop evolving. So what do we do with all this? We choose awareness over comfort, inner confrontation over spiritual bypassing. We admit what we've disowned: the rage, the need, the jealousy, the pride, the hunger for control, the longing to be adored, not to shame it, but to integrate it. Because the only thing more dangerous than darkness is pretending it isn't there. Jung's called this individuation, the sacred process of becoming whole. Not pure, not perfect, just real. And when you know your shadow, you don't have to project it. You don't have to manipulate to stay in control. You don't need certainty to feel safe. You walk through life with humility because you know what lives inside you. And that's what makes you powerful. Not your light, but your ability to hold both. If this stirred something in you, if it made you rethink someone in your life, or helped you see yourself more clearly, let it land. Sit with the discomfort, then grab a journal and ask, what part of me have I disowned? When have I mistaken my reflection for someone else's fault? Where am I still acting from a wound I refuse to name? Because transformation doesn't begin in the light. It begins in the dark, with the courage to turn inward. And once you do, everything changes. Comment below. I see the shadow, not to perform, but to begin. A new kind of seeing, a new kind of power, a new kind of integrity. Quiet, calm, conscious, not perfect, but whole.